are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Drayton Boylston and this is the Coaching Crucible, and Gary and I were just sharing a laugh before we get started here. Gary, you still chuckling?
I'm still chuckling. You have a way of bringing out the fun side of me and bringing some chuckles out. So welcome everybody. It's nice to have you on board again in the month of October for our Coaching Crucible.
Yeah, it's great to have everybody here, and we appreciate you spending time with us. We've got some very fun stuff today, as we always do. And as everybody gets in and gets settled, if we could just have a show of hands from folks that can hear my voice. Can you hear my voice? Thank you, Sharona and Victor, and we've got a number of others raising their hands. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Glad you're here. And just, to start off, we would love to have you bring your friends, family. You can bring a pet if you want to. It's pet friendly to the next Crucible. We want to keep building this. Feel very blessed that we've had our audience continues to grow. We've got gosh, Gary, it's about 1,700 people that are signed up for the Crucible, and we get certainly a percentage of those that show up live, but the vast majority of the people listen to it later, and we feel very, very grateful for that. And we just want to keep spreading this message about coaching and what can be done and the positive impact we can have on the world. So if you could help us out and bring more people and get more people to be engaged, we feel like certainly we'd be very indebted and grateful, and we feel like the more people that we get out there evangelizing about all this, then the better off the world's going to be. It's pretty broad, isn't it, Gary? I mean, we think we can impact the entire world.
Well, yeah, and I'll put a little plug in for WBEX, the World Executive Business Coaches annual event where you and I speak every year, and the amount of people that attend and the amount of people that you and I see coming to our websites and that we see when we're being interviewed on the radio and different venues is growing. So we want to get the word out and not point the finger at Drayton Boylston and Coach Gary, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that people understand that in this growing conversation about coaching, there's some false prophets and there's some people giving poor information out there, and there's some really great stuff, and we want to highlight the great stuff and educate people and really, really help people understand how we, Drayton, you and I, and all the people listening and all the people in the coaching community worldwide can make a difference and really change the world. And it's very doable, and I'm not negotiable on that topic.
Yeah, I agree. We did a program a number of years ago called Coaching's the Cure for This Crisis. And it's, we've got a mission play in all of this, and I love what you said. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about any individual. I love the false prophets thing because there are a few of those out there, goodness knows. It's about we're here to be of service. I mean, that's why Gary and I do this program, that's why we do so many other things. And I know that anyone that's listening to us has that servant's heart too. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is, okay, so how do you use that? And how do you think bigger? And how do you get past that lack of confidence and that imposter syndrome and some of these things that are kind of that shadow side of all of us that we have to find a way to deal with? And that's one of the things we're going to hit head on. I'll play this video here that you're seeing on your screen in just a little bit. But before that, Gary and I, we were talking beforehand, as we always do, in terms of, okay, how can we be our highest and best use and the greatest way to be of service for all of you. And Gary and I are very, very transparent with ourselves, and we feel duty-bound to be very transparent with all of you. So with that, Gary and I are going to share just some of the things we go through in terms of lack of confidence sometimes, feeling like an imposter, and what that does for us and how we work through that. So, Gary, do you want to jump in with that real heartfelt, just that gift you gave me earlier in terms of how you were feeling and a little bit about your dad. I just think that's such a compelling story.
Yeah, absolutely. Drayton and I were talking before we went live today, and I mentioned, teasing Drayton, I said I was getting butterflies because there's going to be a part of today's presentation that I'm going to take on as one of my rants and my passions about the industry. And I was teasing him and about being nervous, and he said, "What? You, the Coach Gary, 25-year veteran of the coaching industry? You were there when the first stake was put in the ground on the current trend of worldwide trend of coaching, and you've trained how many hundreds, thousands of coaches, and how many clients have you had in 25 years, and so on and so forth." And there's a part of me that literally has butterflies every time somebody says, "Go live on a radio interview," which I do probably 15 of them, 10, 15 a year, or a program, which I do another 15 speaking engagements on the internet a year, or in person. There's a part of me that wants to be nervous and wants to not be the guy that people are listening to, for fear that I won't look good, for fear that I won't say the right thing, for fear that somebody's going to go like, "Well, that's not the truth. He's not telling it like it really is." And Drake said, "Where do you think that comes from?" And I said, "You know, my dad, when I was growing up, was one of the sweetest and nicest guys that I knew. People loved my dad. I think he probably secretly had a desire to want to be loved and liked. He was a short cup of coffee as a professional baseball player for a part of a season, and owned his own business all of his life, which is where I got my entrepreneurial spirit. Big, tall, strapping guy, Drayton. I didn't give you physical features, but people used to always look at my dad's hands. He was a catcher in baseball. He said, "Wow, what huge hands that he had." So a very confident-looking, outgoing, well-spoken businessman, and my hero personally. But somehow my dad always wanted to take a back seat. He didn't want to be in the limelight. There were times when people wanted to put him in the front of the pack, or have him be, he was in real estate, have him be the primary investor in a project or something. And he always wanted to make other people better. Always wanted to give to other people and help and support other people, which is, I got that side from my dad as well, the giving side. But Drayton, he lacked confidence in some area, and I don't know how when you grow up and you're the captain of the baseball team in high school, and you're the most valuable player in college, and you get drafted by the San Francisco Seals baseball club. I don't know how you don't have confidence when all those things are in your space. But yet somehow, some way, my dad lacked a bit of confidence, and it transferred over to me. And I get those butterflies at a lot of different times. And I'll dare say, Drayton, I'll close with this. I know it has impacted my career. There's times when close friends of mine, like you, have asked me to step into something or do something, and I either think about it or I say, "No, not right now. It's not a good time." And it's probably a lack of confidence that I don't jump in. And it gets transferred from our childhood, and it might not even have been my dad, but there's a confidence or a lack of confidence that has taken place internally inside me that I deal with every day of my life.
Well, that is beyond beautiful in terms of sharing, Gary, because I think, let's see a show of hands. Just raise your hand if you ever would have thought that Gary lacked confidence. And I don't think anybody's going to raise their hand. I mean, it's just no one would guess that. And I think the important message, and I'll share my part of this too, the important message here is that no matter who it is, we have to deal with the confidence issue every single day ourselves. I remember, gosh, not that long ago, Jack Welch, one of the most famous, if not the most famous businessman of all times, said that until his last year at GE, he felt like an imposter. And my share today is around that too. Growing up in the business world, I will never forget when I got my biggest promotion early in my career, and I was 29 years old. And I went back to corporate headquarters in Detroit, and I remember sitting down with my boss at the time, who was a senior vice president. And he said, this is a Fortune 100 company. And he said, we're going to make you vice president. And I looked at him and, puffed out my chest and said, thank you. And we concluded the meeting. And I jumped in a rental car, went back to the airport, and I got on the plane and started flying back to Denver. And I thought, holy cow. And I literally thought that it was a joke. I landed, and he called me, and I thought when I saw his name pop up on the phone, I could have sworn he was going to say, ha ha, it's just a joke. That's how much or lack of confidence I had, and I felt like an imposter. Well, it turned out to be true, and it turned, things continued to go. I was very blessed from there to continue to have a great career, but it was one of those things that you hearken back to that, and all of us deal with this. Are we an imposter? Do we feel like an imposter? Do we lack that confidence? Do we not have enough faith in ourselves to do this work? And that's what we want to discuss today and talk and get it out there, and hopefully this, and raise your hands. Has this been helpful to hear this from Gary and myself? Is this helpful to hear about this? Because we struggle with what I would guarantee every single person on this call at some point in time, and maybe even right at this moment, you're struggling with a confidence thing. Can I run my own business? Can I do this work as a coach? Gary, I remember my first coaching sessions, which were really terrible. I remember them vividly. I was just like full of angst, going, how's this going to go, and what am I going to say, and all of those things. You may be in that place as a newer coach, new to this industry. And what we want to tell you is, I wish we could give everybody a big hug. What we want to tell you is, it's going to be all right. What we want to tell you is, everything's going to be fine. We want you to come from a place of service. And Gary, what I've found over the years is, if we show up with a servant's heart, and it doesn't give us space to lack confidence, because it's all about showing up to serve other people. And when we come from that place of service, then there's no room for us to worry about our stuff. Because what we've just talked about is our stuff, right? Gary's dealing with his, me dealing with my stuff. And when we flip that around, and thankfully Gary and I have found a way to flip this around where we're just here to be of service. That's it. We're just here to be of service. And I was asked yesterday, Gary, on a radio interview I did. I was blessed to do a national radio show yesterday, and one of the questions from the host was, well, how do you show up? What do you say to yourself? Because we were talking about stress and coaching and things like that. And I said, well, I get out of bed in the morning, and all I do is say, how may I be of service? And I bet I say that 50 times a day. And before we do the Crucible every month, I say, how may I be of service? And what I found is that it gives you the ability to get out of your own stuff and simply care about the person that is hearing you, that you're working with, that is on the other side of this. And Gary, for me, that's been magical in terms of that shift, that I don't worry about, oh my gosh, will this coaching call go well? Because I just show up before any kind of meeting or call, whatever it might be, and say, how may I be of service?
And that's the key. That's the key. And there's no mess that you can create that you can't clean up. If you're in an in-service mindset already, even if you say the wrong thing, even if you make a mistake, if you're in service to people, there's no mess that you can create that you can't clean up.
I love it. I love that. And that is so true because you're coming from a heartfelt felt place. And here's two business guys, right? You're in, businesscoaching.com, executivecoachinguniversity.com, and we're coming from this, business place, but it still comes down to the heart and showing up and being heart-centered and heart-focused for all the people that we work with. And believe me, in the business world, everybody needs that. And we need to be courageous about talking about these things. So Gary, yeah, and I love the amens. This video that we're getting ready to show you, that's me on the left, and Gary accused me of having a body double. That's actually me.
Your younger brother on the left.
Yeah, that's my much younger brother on the left. This was filmed in 1873. That's my lovely daughter on the right, and you'll see it's labeled Taylor's Task. And I'll explain what that means here, but it really dovetails with what we're talking about here. And I want to make sure the audio, if you guys can pick up the audio, you can go to our YouTube channel, the executivecoachinguniversity.com YouTube channel if you want to see this. But I'll play this, and just a quick show of hands as this starts playing, just let me know the audio is working, and I'll rewind it. So is the audio working?
I'm Drayton Boylston with Executive Coaching University. I'm here.
Show of hands. Audio is working.
Daughter Taylor, who's the world slayer.
Gary, can you hear that?
Diva.
Yep.
Can you guys hear that okay? So just show of hands. I just want to make sure everybody can hear that as I play it. So thank you very much. So I'll play this from the start again. So just listen to this, okay? We're talking about an exercise. This is something we teach in our coaching certification program. One particular exercise that I do all the time still, and I learned this from my daughter, and it's something that hopefully will help you gain some more confidence and build new muscles around your personal growth. So hang with me. It's just about 4.5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Drayton Boylston with Executive Coaching University. I'm here with my infamous daughter, Taylor, who's the world slayer and artistic diva of the family. And I want to talk a little bit about Taylor's Task because that's such a big part of our flagship course, the Certified Mastermind Executive Coaching Program. And Taylor's Task really came about and was inspired by Taylor. And we're going to tell the story about how this all came about and how it really applies to our flagship program. So Taylor, thanks for sitting in with your dad today. I appreciate it. And I remember when Taylor's Task started, and this was probably 6 years ago?
It's a while ago.
Probably 6 years ago, and I remember walking up from my office one day, and you're on the computer, and I said, "What are you doing, honey?" And you said at the time, "I'm writing an email to Patty Calhoun." And I looked at you and I went, "I know that name." And you said, "Patricia Calhoun from Westward." And I said, "Well, what are you asking Mrs. Calhoun?" And she said, "Well, you said, I'm telling her I am so great and she needs to hire me." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so what happened? You sent the email to, and you found, first of all, you found her private email.
I found her email. It wasn't that hard to find. I found it and I emailed her and I just said, "Hey, let me be your intern. I'm really good at taking pictures. Let me come work for you." And she said yes. And that kind of spurred a whole series of me just asking for what I want.
I love it. And I remember when I asked you that, and your reaction was so pure. I said, "Honey, that is incredible. I'm so glad you're doing that." And you looked at me and you got this perplexed look on your face, and you said, "Dad, I don't have the job today. What am I out if she says no? So why not just go for it?" And that's kind of been your life, hasn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
And that's one of the things we talk about in class when we work with people is that, especially as we get older, we don't have that gumption, that chutzpah that the young people do, and we tend to get very conservative and less than courageous at times. So when we work with people, we talk about having them do 1, 2, 3 things over that next week that pushes them. So reach out to that person that you've never spoken to, that you've seen in the news. So we've had people reach out to presidents, prime ministers, rock stars, people in Hollywood, and get responses from people. It has been absolutely remarkable. But it really starts with having that thought that you don't have anything to lose. You don't have that internship today. And a follow-on to this, if memory serves, not only did you get the job as an intern, she paid you as an intern, and that first week when you got your own page with your photographs, you had more hits on their website than anybody else. Wasn't it in excess of 20,000 hits?
Something like that, yeah. Like 25,000 hits on like the Westward blog.
So within weeks, you went from no internship, no job, to getting the job, getting paid, and being very high profile in the city of Denver at that point, right?
I don't know if I was high profile.
You're
Doing
modest.
something.
Yeah. So reaching out and asking for things that you want,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So as you see this, think about this as an example and Taylor's task to find inspiration to go and do what you want to do, think bigger, and build these muscles. We talk to people about, don't just do this once. So every single week, do something that pushes you, makes you scared. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, she said, do one thing that scares you every single day. And that will help you grow, and that's what we want you to do. That's what all of us should do. So go out and do a Taylor's task. You do more Taylor's tasks and have fun with it.
So Gary, what's your take on that?
It's something that, as you said, you teach
Welcome
people.
everyone. This is Drayton Boylston.
Excuse me.
No problem. Something that you teach people that is important for us to understand, and that is that your comfort zone isn't called a comfort zone by accident. Those words are not an accident. That we need to constantly expand ourselves and constantly learn and grow ourselves. And really, the title for that is called transformation. If you're, transformation, Drayton, is not a place to get to or a thing that you do. Transformation is the constant pursuit of wisdom, and you never get there. Wisdom is not ever achieved. You just constantly add to the wisdom. And if we stay stagnant, if we stay in a little box, in a little corner and play it safe, who knows what you missed in life, and who knows what opportunities were there for the taking, but you never chose to move forward.
And Gary, so much of this for me, and having witnessed people go through using Taylor's Task for so many years now, it's about building muscles. It's about you do it once, the second time becomes so much easier. And we've had people, as I mentioned, just reaching out to really big names and playing tennis with Robert Plant and all these crazy things that have happened over the years. But it's one of those things that we want everyone to do, because you do this once. Let's say you embrace this, and today you go out and put an email out there to the local radio show talk host or the local TV station, and you start there. And yes, you may be getting goosebumps thinking about doing something like that. But if you really want to build your business and develop yourself personally, it's a matter of putting it out there. And just like Eleanor Roosevelt said, it's about getting to that level of discomfort, because that's where the growth is. And when you do that, if you really want to build your business, and you want to succeed in helping others, a lot of this is about getting your message heard. And so many coaches are modest or lack the confidence to get out there and do it. Our challenge to you is to do something today that makes you uncomfortable. So a show of hands, who is willing to take on this challenge to do a Taylor's Task, to reach out to someone that you've seen in the headlines, a show you want to be on, someone to write an article about you in a newspaper, a corporation head that you want to do business with? Who's willing to take this on? Just a show of hands. Who's willing to do a Taylor's Task today? When we conclude the class today, who's willing to jump out there and do something that makes you uncomfortable? Just a show of hands. Raise your hand if you're game. So Gary, we have some hands raised. We're getting some more. And we want you to think about this. Think about thinking bigger. Think about and really searching for what is my level of confidence and how can I make it grow today? What one thing might I do that will help me grow my confidence and thus my business? So Gary, that was my thought today, just around what can we do to serve people in terms of their level of confidence and thinking about Taylor's task and getting people inspired to get out there. And you could be a great coach without clients and without exposure. No one's ever going to know it. And what I know is that we need to get out there and spread this message about the benefits of coaching in a much bigger fashion. Because when you think about it, the last I heard, Gary, there's somewhere between 30 and 40,000 coaches worldwide, and there are 7 billion people on this planet. Clearly, there's not enough supply for the demand out there, and it's incumbent upon all of us, especially this core group we have in the Crucible tribe that we've grown over the last couple of years or so, that we have to get out there and be the evangelists and talk about what this means in the business world and talk about what coaching can do for individuals.
It isn't going to happen unless somebody takes a stand, somebody drives a stake in the ground.
Yeah, and Gary, for so many years we've called ourselves the lightning rods in the coaching business, and I know you epitomize that too. And that's kind of the way you have to feel, is that you have to be courageous enough to be a lightning rod and to be willing to put something out there and to give an opinion and to take a stance for something. It's really important. So all of us need to do this. So hopefully we'll inspire you to go out and do a Taylor's task today, and not just do it once. As I mentioned earlier, this is about building muscles. You build your muscles every time you do this, and you build your level of confidence every time you do this. And before you know it, it'll be one of those things, I won't say it's like a ho-hum, but it'll be like, oh yeah, I can do this. And as Taylor, you saw with Taylor, it's like, hey, I don't have it today. Where am I going to be if I don't get what I'm asking for? You'll be in the exact same place. You haven't lost a darn thing. So please try it. Please try it. And Gary, with that, I'm going to shift over to you. Gary and I were, as we mentioned, we were chatting earlier, and Gary's got a very passionate subject that he would like to chat with you about today, that he was fired up. I'm telling you, I had to just get the fire extinguisher on Gary before he started, because he's pretty darn fired up over this thing. So Gary, I'll turn it over to you now, my friend.
Well, thank you, Drayton. Thank you for the great introduction, and keep the fire extinguisher and the hose handy.
You got it.
I'm getting real fired up. The more I think about it, the more fired up I get. So I would like, given that you said what you said, Drayton, I would like everybody to listen from a particular place today. I want you to clear your mind, clear your desk, close your computer, listen to what I have to say, and I'm going to use the example that Drayton said, as though you have a stake in the game. Drive a stake in the ground. This is the stake that's holding up your tent, your building, your future. And really, if you are a coach, or if you're going to be a coach, this is already a stake in the ground for you today, because I'm going to give you and share with you what I have been passionate about, and also what I've had to learn the hard way in these 25 years, these 25 wonderful years of being a business coach and being a pioneer in the industry. And I want to emphasize, Drayton, the ups and the downs. So this isn't 10 feet tall, bulletproof Coach Gary throwing a bone out to our community. This is something that I recently put together, a series of thoughts that it really becomes what it takes to become a 6 or 7 figure coach. This is the kind of thing that you're going to have to take with you in order to have an impact on the world. And as Drayton says, coaching without clients is absolutely like trying to drive a car without gas. You don't make a difference in the world unless you've got the tools, the skills, and the backbone to go out and share your passion, share your niche, share what you can bring to the world. And Drayton, I'm sorry to be on my soapbox here, but everybody can bring something to the table. Everybody, your daughter, you, me, and everyone listening, all of the people that are listening to the call today can bring something to the table. All of you have unique experiences and backgrounds and some form of wisdom. And in my case, I'm almost embarrassed to say a lot of the best wisdom that I bring to the table to my clients is from getting my butt kicked all over the place, and the mistakes and the areas that I tried shortcuts and I tried to work around things, and I was married and divorced years ago, and all those things bring experiences to the table that make me a powerful coach even in the business arena. So all those things are life lessons that we learn, and you can't learn them all at once. You sometimes have to take steps in order to gain. And today I'm literally going to give you the formula and the shortcut to success. So if you can't keep up with me, and I apologize, I don't apologize for talking fast. I just get wound up, and I'm passionate about this topic. If you can't keep up with me, get the recording and go back and listen to it again. But here we go on the tried and true formula for what it takes to be successful as a coach. And the first area I want to cover is what isn't coaching. I'm going to give you some formula for what a coach is in a minute, but what coaching is not, okay? So you're not a coach just because you say you're a coach. So that's the first thing I want to get out of the way, is that you're not a coach because you say you're a coach. So just because people I had breakfast with a lady this morning, and she told me that her 8-year-old daughter, Drayton, does not want to have somebody tutor her. And she's embarrassed to tell her classmates that she's being tutored, but her mother said, well, what about if we say that we hired a coach for you? So now she's being coached to get better at math, not tutored. When I was that age, they didn't even have the word coach anywhere other than the sports arena. Now we have teachers that are coaches. So you're not a coach because you say you're a coach. You're not a coach because you know how to ask the right questions. I'm sorry to dispel the rumors from other brand X, Y, and Z, but asking questions is a very small part and a significant part of being a coach, but that's not it. You're not a coach unless you have some form of niche. Now, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on this because Drayton is passionate about it. I'm passionate about it, is that our premise is to make a difference in the world, you should have a unique niche or niche if you're listening from Canada or France or a French-speaking country. And what we mean by that is that your niche should be narrow and deep. So you shouldn't work with everybody who has a checkbook. You shouldn't work with everybody who wants to work with you. It's a selection process, and the narrower the niche that you have, the better chance that you have of becoming a thought leader in your region, in your niche, or in the world for your niche, if you pick the right kind of niche. So, for example, somebody who's been married and divorced a whole bunch of times and has figured out the formula for having a great marriage, maybe you only work with divorcees, or maybe you only work with people that want to have a deep, rich, long-term marriage. Well, you're bringing something to the table, and that could be a great niche for the right person if that's what you're passionate about. So you should be passionate about your niche. Okay, so in my opinion, you're not going to be successful at coaching unless you follow pieces of this formula. And the first 3 things I want to share with you that you must bring with you if you're a coach. You must learn, you must endure, you must train yourself in 3 areas. Number 1, you have been taught a methodology, and your clients are better off when you bring your methodology to the table for your clients. So let me define that just a little bit, and that means that somebody taught you coaching, or somebody taught you a methodology. Probably you didn't invent it on your own, but you might have invented it on your own. But it's a system, it's a process. At businesscoach.com, we call it a methodology. So it's fluid. It's not static or carved in marble at businesscoach.com. We give people the latitude to coach within a certain 10%, 15% gray area. But mainly, people follow our methodology in order to work with businesses, because businesses always are better off if they follow our or a methodology for businesses. So number one, you must have a methodology that your clients are better off when you bring that with you to the table. Number two, you have a coach, and your coach is pushing you to be a better coach. Now, Drayton and I have tiptoed around this topic, and I finally have thrown the baby out with the bathwater on this. I'm not tiptoeing around it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, how can you coach people and tell people that they must or need or should have your services if you're not using the service yourself? It doesn't make any sense. You must have a coach that is pushing you, and if you are a coach and you don't have a coach, hiring the right coach will not be a liability in terms of dollars and cents for you. You should get a handsome return on your investment. Your coach should be pushing you in a direction to be making a bigger difference for your clients, to significantly increase the quality of your business, your coaching business, and the relationship you have with your clients. And if you're doing that, you'll get a return on your investment. I'm guessing at least a minimum of a 3-time return on your investment. So it's not a liability. It's not a cost factor to your coaching business. It is going to be an asset that you carry with you that will compound itself in the way of results. So number two is you must have a coach that's pushing you. Number three, you are reading at least 2 books a month that will have you better off in the coaching arena, that will have you be better off in the coaching arena, and or taking courses, classes, being trained. So it could be your coach giving you a class once a month and reading a book a month. It could be reading 2 books and taking a class. It could be going online and getting a qualified quality coaching session. But you must be at least a couple of times a month reading a book or something that will make you a better coach. Now, I'll give you a couple of generic, quick examples of that aren't tied to the business arena. I'll tell you a great book by Steve Chandler, one of my coaches. Let's see, The Time Warrior by Steve Chandler. Time Warrior is a wonderful coach. He also has a book called The Wealth Warrior. Another book is called The Power of Story by Jim Loehr. The Power of Story by Jim Loehr, L-O-E-H-R. And another great book that I've talked about in almost every coaching Crucible call is well, I won't go to that. I'll go to a different one, The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. I have not read the newest edition of that, but it speaks completely to what Drayton's video with his daughter talked about. All kinds of out-of-the-box ideas, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. These are books that will make you a better person. These are books, these kinds of books will make you a better coach. These kinds of books will make your coaching so powerful for your clients that they'll be on a treadmill like they never thought they could be on. If you get that kind of information to your clients and read the books first and understand them, and it'll teach you coaching criteria that you won't have to go to a certification program to get, and your clients will be better off for it. Okay, so now those are the 3 things that I see that you need to continue to do in order to be able to call yourself a coach. Now, before I go on, ask yourself this important question. Who are you being that someone will hire you and pay you $500 an hour or more for your advice? And will they take your advice and act on it? So there's something for you to consider. Who do you need to be? Hint, hint, hint here. You need to be powerful. You need to be progressive. You need to be an accountability partner so that you can be in their face if that's what it needs to happen in order to make a difference for your client. So ask yourself, who am I being? Not what are you doing or what are you saying. Who am I being that someone is willing to pay me $500 per hour or more in order to make their life, their business, their world a better place because you're in it? How will you get them to take your advice, and how will you get them to act on it? And we're going to share a little bit about that, in a moment. Okay, so moving along, there are 3 things that you do as a coach that make the biggest impact in your client's world. 3 things that you do as a coach that are the 3 main ingredients, the biggest percent of growth and change in their world. Those 3 things are, this is now, I described what it is to not be a coach. Now I'm going to describe to you what it is to be a coach. These are 3 ingredients that should be in your methodology and in your recipe when working with your clients. Number 1, you are the outside objective opinion for your clients. You are the outside objective opinion. And by the way, notice these 3 things don't take an MBA to work with a business, or they don't take a graduate degree or a degree in psychology to work in life coaching or executive coaching or personal coaching or other forms of coaching. Number 1, you bring an outside objective opinion to the table. Nobody that can get out of their own box any faster, any better unless they have an outside objective opinion. So what I mean to say is that bringing an outside objective opinion to another human being is letting them know that they got egg on their face and that they should go get in front of a sink and a mirror and clean it off. But nobody knows they have egg on their face unless somebody is there to work with them. So that's the first thing that you bring to your clients. Secondly, you are the accountability partner for your client. So regardless of the form of coaching that you do and the type of clients that you have in your niche, if you can hold another human being accountable to do what they say they are going to do, surveys have shown that will increase the productivity and the results that person will get by at least 60%. At least 60%. So as human beings, we may talk about what we're going to do. We may think about it. We may even write it down or have it as a goal. But until someone is holding us accountable and we have to report to another human being, we are not as likely to perform as we would unless we had an accountability partner. And if you want a quick example of that, my favorite example is always the person who has a New Year's resolution to increase their muscles and decrease their weight. Every year is a New Year's resolution, but the year that it made a difference, they hired a personal trainer, and they paid that person a lot of money to be there, standing next to them, watching them work out on the equipment, but not doing the work. But they paid them money just to be there and show them what equipment to step on and to hold them accountable for showing up. And then the third component that you bring to the table as a coach is you bring results and action in areas where clients were previously stuck or slow moving in the activity. So for example, in some of my clients, they know how to grow their business and increase the top line, the sales, and the incoming new clients in their business, but they don't know how to increase the bottom line profits. They can't make a connection between increased sales and increased profits. So they grow their business. They work real hard, but they don't make any more money from one year to the next. And from the outside, I can observe that and make suggestions for them. And yes, it's well worth at least $500 per hour and more that I charge for that service, because I'm bringing the wisdom and the experience from other clients, other businesses, and other areas that I have experience. I'm bringing that to them. They can't see it from the inside out, but from the outside looking in, I can see areas where they can take some significant changes and move some things around in their business that makes a difference. So please understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. I'm giving you shortcuts of things that I've learned that have taken me years and years and years to figure out. And many times I'm in classes and teaching this material, and suddenly somebody gives me feedback, or suddenly I have an epiphany when I'm teaching this, and I make notes and I modify my lessons and I modify what I've done, because I'm always open to growing, I'm always open to learning, and I'm always willing to change, not for the sake of change, but change if it makes a better result for the end user or for the other person that I'm working with. A couple of quick tips, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Drayton, so be ready here in a couple minutes. Number one of the things that I would have people take a look at that are getting into coaching or struggling in their coaching, the money is in executive coaching and business coaching. Money is not the answer to everyone's needs, and I'm not saying that you want to make a difference for somebody and you're not going to do it unless you get paid for it. My point is that where the money to be paying you the fees that you deserve, when you get this kind of education and you bring these kinds of tools to the table, the money is in executive coaching and business coaching. I'm not saying that because that's what Drayton and I do. I'm just telling you that's where people can afford to pay coaching fees and sign 1-year and 2-year agreements for outside perspective and outside coaching, because the money is in the coffers. It's in the more employees they have, the bigger the stake in the game, the more they can afford to pay for it. Whereas personal coaching, life coaching, sometimes, unless your niche is really good and very strong, and I'm not saying it's not, you can certainly do it. I know people that do. Then sometimes there's not enough money to work with certain groups of people. So choose your niche carefully. So that's one tip for you. And then the other one is, before I turn it back over to Drayton, is I have a new rant that I'm getting on that that I'm going to bring to the coaching industry at this point in time. I don't see that you can be an internal coach and have a fair impact on an organization. So that is to say, to bring me in from the outside to coach an organization, I see the value in that, because I'm outside the organization. I can make a objective outside opinion, and I can bring my background in history and coaching skills and tools into an organization. If I'm an internal coach, and there's not a lot of these, but there are some internal coaches who the paycheck comes from the company and they're coaching people inside the company, I have not yet been able to see as to where that person can have an outside objective opinion, because I know my paycheck is coming from the boss upstairs and I'm coaching the guy downstairs, and I'm wondering if I've really put enough pressure on this person and I'm an internal coach, am I going to lose my job? Is that person going to get me fired, or are they going to, or is there going to be enough pushback and disturbance in that? So that's not my niche. I don't understand that part of the business, but I do know that outside objective opinion is critical for people to get feedback, because where can you go to get somebody, even your husband, your wife, your family, your parents, your brothers and your sisters, you cannot give, are not bold enough to tell you the truth about what they see in you. And when you bring that in as a coach, then you bring something that is not available anywhere else in their life. And again, Drayton, I'm going to turn it back over to you. this is what I see is necessary for people to make a difference in the world. And this is the rant that I'm on these days. And thank you for giving me the stage and the spotlight today to be able to share those thoughts.
Yeah, I love it, Gary. I love it. And folks, I hope you soaked up that wisdom, because I was taking notes here, just all of the huge points that Gary made. If you did everything that Gary just said, and you get your coach, you refine your niche, you work on your personal growth, you do these things and your business will explode. And that's, you know, so much of this is we talk about it's a business. And since you have your own business, we're assuming here the vast majority you have your own business, then you need to look at this as a very serious endeavor, that you spend time on these things. And as somebody said, one of our comments was, you know, we should walk our talk. Well, that's what we're talking about here. And we've taken polls before, as you know, Gary, and just a small percentage of people have their own coaches. And Gary and I have talked about our coaches. I have at any given time 3 coaches, depending on what's going on and what my needs are, and you know, what we have project-wise. So it's such an important thing, and creating that atmosphere in your business of, look, I do this too. When you're talking with your clients, look, I've got my own coach, and I do the personal growth thing. I know Gary's a big sponge. I listen to or read a book and a half or a book about every week and a half. So I go through 35, 40 books a year that I listen to a lot on audible.com, and I take countless classes online, and I do this all the time because I know that I want to stay ahead of the curve. I want to know what's going on out there. I want to be the sponge of growth all the time. And that's where we need, and that's because I know that translates to our Executive Coaching University and other things that I do personally, because that's where the growth is, and we have to push ourselves. And Gary, I loved what you said about the outside opinion too. I will tell you, as a recovering CEO, and I say that with a chuckle every time, I'm still recovering from my business experiences. As a recovering CEO, that is one of the biggest things that you can provide to any organization, is that fresh perspective. And I love, Gary, that you said it's not about having an MBA and all this stuff. It's the outside eyes and ears. And then having the courage to stand up and tell them things that they do not want to hear. And I'm going to repeat this. You want to be that outside sounding board and be courageous enough, back to what we started with, your courage, be courageous enough to tell them the things they do not want to hear. So important. And Scott, let me, I've got one of my colleagues here with us. Scott, raise your hand if you're in a place where I can call on you for a second. We'll see if Scott's available. But Gary, I love, okay, Scott, I'm going to unmute you for a second because I've got a question of Scott. So Scott Sadler, Scott, thanks, buddy. You here with us?
Sure. Yep, thank you.
Well, Scott is part of our team here at Executive Coaching University, and Scott is part of our, in fact, we just had one of our team calls earlier today. And Scott, do you want to tell everybody, just talking about the whole have your own coach and all that, and creating a team atmosphere where we hold each other accountable, do you want to give some insight into some of the tough love we give each other around the whole accountability thing? Because I think that'd be helpful for people to hear.
Yeah, I'm still nursing bruises today, but I'll do my best to get through it.
Yeah, we'll get some Band-Aids for you, bud.
It's, for me, I've been a coach since 2004. I really got serious about it in 2009. And having the accountability is just skyrocketed my business. I'm a published author now as of October 1st. I'm challenged with client load and not sure where to put clients when they come in now. I'm very busy. I'm happier. I have more free time in my life. And the push that comes from having a coach or a team of coaches is unbelievable. I see it with my clients, and now I'm seeing it with me over the past several years. And just having that accountability alone, knowing that I have to report to somebody on what I did, on what I said I wanted, is imperative for anyone's success.
And Scott, give people an idea of the way a conversation goes and what you hear from, let's say I'm in the role of the accountability partner for a certain project you're working on. What does that look like, and what do you hear?
Well, first of all, you proceed with caution about what comes out of your face, because you're going to be held accountable to what you say.
Only speak what you can accomplish, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm very measured. I remember one time, and this was Drayton who pulled this on me. I was pretty excited. I set a pretty high financial goal, and I said, I'm really beginning to believe that I can accomplish this. And he stopped me and said, well, all right, add 25% to it. So keeping me in that uncomfortable place is where the growth happens. And so that's kind of what we do for each other when we're talking about group projects, is to really challenge each other. Can you take it to the next level? And are you just kind of walking through this, or is this really challenging you? And that's been very helpful for me especially.
Yeah, Scott, thank you very much. I know we didn't rehearse, and none of this is rehearsed, folks. So Scott was just listening like all of you, and I appreciate you stepping up and sharing that today, Scott. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, glad to do it. Good job, you guys.
Yeah, it's so important, Gary. And we're going to start recording some of our team calls and be able to share this with the entire group, so you can get an idea of what this sounds like too. But Gary, for our team, it's like a coaching roundtable. It's really, we get together and we hold each other accountable for projects and delivering things, and if they're working on courses, or in Scott's case, he was working on a book and putting together an accountability plan for that. So there's so many wonderful things that we can do, but you have to set up the infrastructure for your business.
Amen.
Yeah, it's so critical, everyone, that and think about everything that we've talked about here today. So we go back to when Gary and I started talking about that transparency and the imposter syndrome, and then we listened to Taylor's task, saw the video, and then Gary's talking about refining your niche and getting a coach and personal growth and outside opinion and accountability partners and helping clients get unstuck, and then the external versus internal coaches. There's been a lot here. So we want you to absorb this. We'll get the recording out as we always do. And we just thank you for being here. And Gary, any last words you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, I had a little story I was going to tell about holding an executive accountable this week, and I don't know if I have time to do that, but instead I'll say it this way. And I would like to, I request that people hear my heart in this and not like a story, but I literally, Drayton, in the dialogue between what I said today and what you said and hearing Scott, I found 4 additional pieces that I want to add to what I said today, things that I inadvertently left out. Not major pieces, or not like it's going to change anything, but you made a comment, Scott made a comment, and I thought, ooh, I didn't talk about this. I should have talked about this as well. So I have trained myself to be really, really clear that I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that when people speak, sometimes it's hard and it hurts when it's critical speaking, but when people speak, I've trained myself like, oh, wow, what Drayton said, why didn't I include that, or a version of that, or something that you triggered a thought. So I literally added 4 areas to what I said today of it, what I would call improvement, because I'm open to that, because I'm willing that I don't ever, ever, ever have all the answers. I just have a beginning point, and I can only start somewhere, and if I didn't ever start, I would never get anywhere. So everything is work in progress. and I'm open to people's feedback and where it can always get better. So thank you, great, and thank you, Scott, for supporting what I said and went over today.
Yeah, I love that, Gary. And just the last thought before we click off here today is I love what Wayne Dyer says. He talks about not being the best person out there and, you know, better than anybody else. It's being better than you were yesterday. And I think when you distill all of this, that's really what it is. It's, are we willing to put in the work to be better than we were yesterday, and showing up in that place, you know, with servant's heart, from that place of service, and improving ourselves so that we can serve other people. So with that, thank you. Thank you for being here. It's amazing how everybody stays the entire time. We're so grateful for that. And again, please tell your friends, family, animals, everybody to come listen, and we'll pick it up again next week, and we'll get that recording out to everyone. So until then, everyone, take good care.
See you next month, everybody. Bye-bye.